good morning. This is a little bit of a different video than we normally do here on YouTube. This is actually a clip of a video that we put over on the Patreon page this morning regarding that Arita charger that I had talked about on Friday that we had bought at Michael Grogan's sale a week and a half ago, picked up last Wednesday and so forth. And we talk about what we learned about it over the weekend because one of our viewers broke down the translation and sent it in to me and gave me the information he had on it. Sort of an interesting bit. And you might find the video interesting. It's a bit different than what we normally do. It's shorter. We post these over for the Patreon subscribers each week. We talk about my own collection, things like that. It's a bit of a different type of video, but it's a lot of fun. We enjoy doing them, and we do a couple, as I said, one or two of them every week, and other content, of course, over there. But this is a follow-up because I know a number of you had commented wondering who had done it. Somebody emailed me wondering if we were going to say who was the decorator when we find out, and I said we would. And here we are. This is the video, and if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can see it here or on Patreon, ad-free, of course, with all the other videos we put up over there, and so forth. So anyway, enjoy it, and I hope you find it useful. Okay, bye-bye. Well, here we are. It is Monday, the beginning of the week, and as I mentioned on Friday, I had bought this rather amazing piece of Arita ware at a Michael Grogan sale a week ago, this past weekend. Picked it up last Wednesday, brought it home, and was absolutely thrilled with it. But I had said during the video I did on Friday, we hadn't figured out quite yet who the potter was. And the potter, we found out, one of our viewers, Brian, who speaks Japanese, was very easily able to quickly look at the signature with his wife, who is Japanese, and they broke it down and they did some research. And it turns out that it was made by Katsutaro Satoguchi. And he was not a very well-known potter, except that he had been in, the only mention they could find of him in any Japanese publications was that he had been in a competition in 1886 during the Meiji period for potters from the Arita province. And that very, very long signature really only says on it, Dai Nippon Hizan Setoguchi Katsutoro Se, which means Japanese Arita ware made from Hizen, made by Katsutoro Setoguchi. And that's literally what it means. And it's not a difficult a bunch of words. It's very long. It looks like it might have said more than that, but that's what it said. And this was the inscription on the back of this big beast right here. And I go on quite a bit about Japanese art because I think it's just so ridiculously underappreciated and undervalued in the market. It is an amazing category of art. And right now what's happened is that, unfortunately, for the last 20 or so years, the fascination with the Chinese economy, the rapid growth of China, and the collectors from China pouring into the market and buying with almost abandon everything that's Chinese has sort of sucked all the air out of the room for a lot of collectors, because many people who buy Asian art aren't really collectors, they're speculators. And they've come into the market and they completely ignore the beauty of Japanese art because Chinese art brings more money, and for them the money is more important than the art. And that is a shame, because you're really missing out on a giant area of decorative art that has enormous merit. And this is something that I see across the art world today in many, many categories. It's about chasing the money, chasing the fad, chasing what's hot and what's not, and has nothing to do with the objects themselves. And we're seeing this right now as the famous wristwatch market is just collapsing. That all these companies have put their resources behind. Rare wristwatches are now selling for about 40% less than they were 2 or 3 years ago. The same thing has happened with this sneaker craze, and it's going to happen with a lot of other crazes, because it's not art being pursued by people who appreciate art. It's people who want to be accepted and are chasing fads. And don't be a fad collector. Be a collector. Be somebody who loves what you do. And the reason I'm pointing out this is that this is such an exemplary piece of why you should collect Japanese art, why it should be of interest to you. And when you look at the back of it, the curvilinear aspects of how the leaves are drawn on this charger, the potting quality, the enamel quality, the firing quality, the visual aspects of it are just astonishing. And consider if you're wondering about values and so forth, if this were a Chinese plate from this period, 1880s, in this quality, in this size, that is essentially mark and period because it's signed by the artist, what would it be worth? It would be worth a ton of money. It would probably be worth $40,000 or $50,000 anyway, as big Guangzhou charges are worth. There are certain charges from the Guangzhou era that aren't that beautiful. They often are done with sort of burnt underglazed reds, underglazed blues. They have an unusual mark on them. They sell for huge amounts of money and not particularly good. There's a number of them that are floating around. Here you have examples of Japanese art that is superb quality, beautifully made, just like they have in China. They had Chinese porcelain that was made for just daily consumption, export wares, common goods, so forth. That's fine. People buy those. And then they also had pieces that were exemplary, pieces of extraordinary quality. And the quality should be all you're really interested in when you buy art. That's all it should be. If you're buying for financial reasons, you're not really a collector. You're a speculator. You'd probably be better off fooling around with the S&P 500 this year more than anything else. If you want to play with money, put your money in the S&P. And I can tell you, we did. we all of our money is basically in S&P index funds because nothing has ever outperformed the S&P. It's as simple as that, as Warren Buffett pointed out, very wisely. This is just an aside. Warren Buffett, I don't know if you know this, has a $10 million standing bet with anybody who can find an investment vehicle that has outperformed the S&P 500 as far as index funds or anything like this, hedge funds, that has outperformed the S&P over the last 20 years or the previous 40 years or any period of time. And nobody has been able to come up with it yet. And Warren Buffett has never had to write that check. And he said, I'd be more than happy to write it because I'd like to hear about it. And it's the same thing with art. If you want to own art because you appreciate the art, that's one thing. But if you want to speculate with money, then you're just chasing fads. That's all you are. You're just a fad chaser. We knew how many people were serious about collecting Japanese art. The minute the Japanese economy went into trouble and the prices fell, all these people just stopped buying Japanese art when they should have increased what they were buying. I did the opposite. I bought more. I bought some very lovely pieces of Japanese metalworks, porcelains, scrolls, all this sort of thing, for almost nothing. It's like shopping for Chinese things back in the 1970s and early 80s when the stuff wasn't worth anything, believe it or not. And it's the same thing today's happened to the Japanese art. It's still the same quality that it was in the 1980s, 90s, and so forth. It's still beautiful. It's still exceptional. But the fad of collecting Chinese has overwhelmed the interest for many who were buying Japanese art because there were people speculating in Japanese art too. And those speculators all jumped ship and went to Chinese art. All right, I'm a Chinese art collector. No, you're not. You're a Chinese investor, speculator, and the chances are, if you're a speculator in Chinese art, you'll probably never own anything really great. That's just the simple matter of it. At any rate, I won't go on too much, but this is the plate. It's a wonderful example. It is huge. It's unusually big, and I'm just mentioning this plate again to illustrate the illogical fallacy that many have that everything great was produced in China and nothing great was produced in Japan, because that's almost how it's being presented today. Was that the Chinese stuff is obviously better because it's worth more money in the market? No, it's got nothing to do with quality really. It has everything to do with monetary pressures and the power of transactional behavior in the market. That's all it is. And I hope people eventually come around to some level of maturity and recognize that. But at any rate, here we are. I just thought I'd mention who made that plate because I said I would. And my thoughts on buying these pieces. I actually have my eye on a number of lots right now that are coming up in the next couple of weeks that are Japanese. They're all on the global pages, so you can go through and poke around. But there's a couple I personally like and will probably buy and get them sent up here. And I'll probably buy them for next to nothing. And that's just the way it is right now. So anyway, thanks for watching and have a great week. And I'll be back working on a couple of videos and lots going on. Bye-bye.